In this project, we'll get some practice writing mathematical formulas and getting input from the user via text boxes, which are string properties, and casting those into double variables, doing the math on those variables, and then taking our double result and casting that back out to text boxes as string values with either 3 or 2 decimal places. It's been said that baseball is a game of statistics. Stats are meticulously kept for both batting and pitching. So we're going to write an app that will take the input for a batter in terms of their at-bats, runs, hits, doubles, triples, home runs, RBIs, walks, or base on balls, hit by pitch, and their sacrifice flies, and calculate their batting average, their on-base percentage, their slugging percentage, and the on-base plus slugging value. For pitchers, we'll take their innings pitched, wins, losses, hits, runs, walks, and strikeouts, and calculate their earned run average, their walks and hits per inning, or called the WHIP, the won-loss percentage, and their strikeout to walk ratio, the K/BB. You see here the storyboard that I created for the project with all the names of different controls. Anything not named here is just a standard label. The image that I used for the baseball batter you can get in our Canvas course site. Now this brings up a good point because you may not know anything about baseball. And as a developer, sometimes we have to create programs in areas that we're not familiar with. And so we work with what's called a SME, a subject matter expert. Oftentimes we can find the information we need online with research these days, but you might have somebody who's a baseball expert, baseball player, baseball manager, who can help you perform these calculations and give you the formulas. I've given here some websites that you can find this information on as well, and I'll provide that information a little bit lower in the instructions. So your assignment is to create that application. We're also going to have some buttons here for populating the inputs with some famous players. The 1941 season for Ted Williams, the career numbers for Babe Ruth, and the 1947 numbers for Jackie Robinson. There's also a clear button here that will clear all of those white boxes here for the batter and set the focus into the player. This Calc batting button is the one that performs the calculation using our inputs to get these outputs in the yellow fields. So there are the stats for the batters, and I also give you stats for the pitchers. So in the pitchers we have Bob Gibson from 1968, Randy Johnson from 2001, and Cy Young's career numbers. The clear pitching button works the same way. It clears all these white values, puts the focus into the player, and the Calc pitching takes the inputs from our white input text boxes and provides the output for the ERA, WHIP, won-loss, and strikeout walk ratio, our yellow labels here. So our first step is to create the GUI using that storyboard. Make sure you modify the tab order so each text box gets the focus in a visual linear fashion. So I should be able to tab from player to at-bats to runs, hits, and so forth all the way down to sacrifices. And from the pitching status, I should be able to tab from the player to innings pitched and then through these white text boxes. We're going to code those 6 historical players to put the values into those input boxes. Obviously, we can create our own inputs as well. We're going to code the clear batting and the clear pitching to clear those inputs and put the focus into TXT batter or TXT pitcher. We're going to code the 2 click events for the Calc buttons to calculate our batting stats and our pitching stats respectively. And then I'd like to also have you do the highlighting and unhighlighting of the text boxes so that as we tab through those boxes, it sets the back color to a highlighted color. I use cyan, you can use it if you like. I would avoid using yellow, or at least the same color yellow, since we're using yellow for those output boxes. Here's our tips from our SME in terms of how to calculate our batting average, our on-base percentage, the slugging percentage, and the on-base plus slugging. For the pitcher, here's our earned run average calculation, our WHIP calculation, our won-loss percentage, and our strikeout to walk or base on balls ratio. Now one little gotcha here is if you look at the innings pitched, you'll see 249.2. That's not 2/10, that is 2/3 of an inning. That's just the way they keep the score in baseball. Every inning has 3 outs. If you get 2 outs, you get 2. If you get 1 out, you get a 0.1. So it's either going to be a whole number or 0.1 or 0.2. So a little tip here, we have to calculate that value into a tenths in doing our calculations. And I give you some formulas here on how to do that. We can take the innings pitched, mod by 1.0 and divide then by 0.3. I assign that value to to a variable called IP3, that's just our tenths of an inning, and then add that back into the whole number of our innings pitched by converting that to cint. Here's the test values you should come up with for those different players. Make sure your code is working. And for my class, you'll submit this along with your weekly reflection. Let's take a look at the project running. My application running, I can click the clear button and enter I can tab to the at-bat. Number of runs, tab to hits, doubles, triples, home runs, RBIs, walks, hit by pitch, and sacrifices. Then I click the calc batting and see my average, on-base percentage, slugging percentage, and on-base plus slugging, which adds the on-base and the slugging together. I can also click the Ted Williams button and see the stats for his 1941 season, get the stats there, and compare that to the output that I provided you to make sure that everything is correct. Babe Ruth and Jackie Robinson. Same way with the pitching, I can tab through the order. If I just click in a cell, it should get the highlighted focus as well. But there's Bob Gibson's numbers, Randy Johnson's, and Cy Young's career numbers. I'm going to suggest you pause the video here and try this on your own, and then you can come back. I will show you my solution as a code review. I'm not going to go through the creation of the interface. I gave you my storyboard that shows how I named everything. You can refer to that. But let's look at the code for each of these different buttons. I'm going to start with the calc batting button. And here I dim several variables for the different stats that we'll get from that user interface in those text boxes. Notice that for singles, I have a underscore 1b, and doubles an underscore 2b, and triples an underscore 3b, because we cannot start a variable name with a number, so I start with an underscore. I'll try to use meaningful names here in terms of baseball stats, and then I'm simply taking all of the text boxes and assigning those to those variables as integer values. So we're casting from the string to the integer. I'm going to calculate the average as the H divided by AB, hits divided by at-bats. My on-base percentage is the hits plus walks plus hit by pitch divided by the sum of the at-bats plus the walks plus hit by pitch and the sacrifices. The slugging value, SLG, is going to be the singles plus the doubles times 2 plus the triples times 3 plus the home run times 4 divided by the at-bats. And then for OPS, we simply add the values of OBP and SLG. Then I output those to our labels, the text properties, using .toString with 3 decimals, and that's the N3. Let's take a look at the calc pitching. Same idea here. I'm dimming W, L, H, R, E, R, B, B, and K as integers. And then I'm also going to dim my values that can contain decimals as double. IP is going to equal CDBL, txtip.text. Now here's where I have to convert that 0.1 or 0.2 into a third or 2/3. I'm going to take IP mod 1.0 and divide that by 0.3. This is the result of that mod operation. Should be either 0.1, 0.2, or 0. Dividing it by give me a value of either 0.33 or 0.667. And then I add that into my whole value of innings pitched. Converting all the other text boxes into integer values. And then we're going to calculate our earned run average as ER divided by IP plus times 9, because it's for the whole game. So this is the value per inning, multiplying by 9 innings. Our whip is H plus the BB value divided by the innings pitched. One loss is the wins divided by the wins plus losses. And our KBB ratio is K divided by BB. Then I output those into our labels. Notice that the earned run average and the KBB ratio is 2 decimals, and the whip and win-loss percentage are 3 decimals. The clear batting button simply sets all of those text boxes to clear, and then I set the focus to TXT batter. I do the same thing in the pitching one. So setting all those pitching values to nothing or using the clear method, and setting the focus to TXT picture. For the Ted Williams, here are the values we're setting that was provided in the instructions. And I just put a little note here what the calculated values should be. Same thing for Babe Ruth, and the same thing for Jackie Robinson. Then for the Bob Gibson button, setting those values. For the Randy Johnson button, setting those values. And the Cy Young. Now I did one more thing here that I didn't tell you about in the instructions, but just so you know, if we were to change these values, I want to clear anything that's in our yellow text boxes. If I were to adjust the number of hits, these values would be calculated incorrectly. I want to clear those out. So for each of the text boxes in terms of the input of the stats, if we make any changes, I want to clear out my output values because they would be incorrect. I created a text changed event handler for all of these input stats, and all I did there was I simply changed or cleared out the calculated values for average, OBP, slugging, and OPS. I did the same thing on the pitching. So all those pitching stats, I cleared those out as well, so that anytime we make a change to the stats, we have to recalculate. That's my solution. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you just jumped into this video, you can see all the videos from the Programming Practicum playlist by clicking on the image in the lower right. And if you'd like to be alerted to future videos I create, you can click my picture in the top right to subscribe to the channel.